Let's see. Flip that. Fucking Wi-Fi. Waiting on Rick. Jump in. There we go. Let's see. So, there we go.
What's up?
What's happening? Sheesh, man. Just what ain't up, you know? It's been
Goes fast
been a week.
after lab
Been a
weekend.
week.
It's like lab weekend's over and then the next week
Dude,
flies.
it's like you go, well, my Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is like 16, 17-hour days. And then Friday we go into lab weekend and it's like
Hmm.
another, 10, 12-hour day because, everybody comes over and eats. And then Saturday's long, Sunday's half a day. And then it's like Monday comes and I get out of here about 4 on Mondays, 5 o'clock. And then this week it was like 6. And it just
Yep. It was
back
a
on
lot of video Sunday too.
Tuesday. So, yeah, so we had that. Yep. But no, just a lot happening. The week's been you know, we started that little documentary series with Andreas, which was good. I had a buddy of mine come in that had a lot of sciatic pain that he's starting to get cleaned up. He could feel the difference. He's getting a better stimulus and all of that stuff, and getting him to relax and stop protecting. But it was a matter of, it's been 2 days and it's a no. You could tell when they come
Hmm.
in, like by their demeanor. You know what I'm saying? Day one, it was like tears running out of his eyes. He was in so much pain. It was hard to see because he's an old friend, and it's like we played ball together and stuff. And then you kind of see like this guy going through some stuff. He's not much difference in age. And it's like, man, that could be me. And then, you start helping him out and it's like, it's I'm grateful. Like, we blessed to have this, that we could do this
It
and
doesn't
help
take
people out the way
much
we
at the
do,
beginning to find relief. And that's a good thing, and that's I think why people have a lot of
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
it can go both ways. You have a lot of good responses to the beginning of GOATA, but because it's so detailed and so specific, that one little error early on, or with a situation like you have right there, where it's a very sensitive system, it's broken down. It's essentially living in injury. How you get that person started is everything, right? It's not that they're doing anything different than, let's say, an NFL athlete, but how they're going to introduce GOATA and these new positions to their body is crucial. But once you get it introduced, once you kind of get the compression to relax, get the pain to relax, and you can get them back to all fours, your general pop, anybody that's listening that's doesn't see themselves as necessarily an athlete but is living in pain, if you're good at the all fours position, if you're pretty proficient down there as moving pressure around and organizing with two hands on the ground, or removing the two hands on one side or on both sides simultaneously, and you can tuck the toes. We've had a lot of people have great responses long term to just mastering
Quick.
basically
Too.
those two milestones, those two archetypes of the all fours, and then the toe tuck. And these are people that they don't even have to push back to the bolt series, or even work to standing work. Like these are some people that don't even do bow wall sits. They don't do shoulder series. They don't do no support drop-ins. They just
Yeah.
do like
Really basic.
chow rockers, bow hip stretch, maybe hip stretch rocker and flow, side to side holds, toe tucks, and just kind of live in that world. And that it's a reset for you. You're not going to take that program and say, well, I'm going to go to my YMCA and play basketball 4 nights a week off of this program. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's going to cure everything, but if you're that general 9 to 5 in a desk in maybe a tight shoe that you don't, favor, but kind of have to wear for work. There's enough there in the system that it's not going to take a lot of your time in your day to day. It can be use it when you need it. I think that's another thing that we hit home on that this past weekend with the coaches. Like, we had some good questions regarding standing and walking, and like, do I think about it all day, or it's like, you can't, even if you've tried to think about it all day. But the best time to do GOATA is when you notice you're not. Meaning, like, if I'm standing and I notice I'm not in GOATA, that's a great time to snap into it. If I'm walking and I notice I'm not, that's a great time to snap into it. The same could be said for that, that relief sort of program that you're looking for as a 9 to 5 or sitting at a desk, or maybe you're in a car a lot. When you're done with that session that makes you feel compressed, makes you feel the tightness start to set in, this is where GOATA is the rinse, or the wash away, the cleansing of a bad pattern that otherwise what had been happening your whole life was, it was compounding, right? Like that little session there that you had in the car that was 2 hours was compounded by a flight, or was compounded by a day at work. And then it keeps going and it keeps going. And there's never a moment to stop, hit reset, almost, like the old N64 cartridge, like take it out, like get rid of the dust, put it back in. It's kind of like that process for our 9 to 5ers, our Gen Pop. And that's why, you've got people see Jameis, they see Obi, they see Dre on the page, because those are these top level, stud athletes. But there's a lot of people that Gary deals with that they just want the basic quality of life back. Like, and you would be amazed at the stories of what they're looking for.
His wife just commented, "We truly grateful," and it's like, till you lose it. You know what I'm saying? Till you lose the ability to walk to your mailbox in the evening. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have no clue what that's like. And it's like people start feeling a little back pain, and it's like, it's kind of like why we stop even dealing with all the pushback. It's like, we know what we're doing here. We know what we do on a daily basis. And people can keep fighting and scratching and clawing against it, but it's proven, it's happening over and over. It's 100%. It's 100% when people follow instructions, and it's like the changes with Jameis and the baseball team. They went from 25th to 15th. They got all their players available. You know what I'm saying? They've had a couple of little things. A dude stretched out for a ball. They thought he tore his groin and his hamstring. He was back at practice 2 days later. That's the other thing, is like, GOATA keeps you like in a position where you're getting better blood flow and airflow and like all that breathing bullshit and all these little modalities that people try that don't work, and they give them a little different stimulus. GOATA does all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? You think that the guy that was in here with severe sciatic pain, you think he could fucking breathe properly? Like, he's sitting there, he can't even take a deep breath. You know what I'm saying? Like, you give him relief. And like I said, the demeanor thing was, and then I love the dude. He's like a friend of mine. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've been running for 20, 30 years. And it's like, to see somebody you care about like that, it like really hits home. Like, it could have, look, I was in a car accident. I had bad back before GOATA. It wasn't nothing like Gilly's story or anything. But, I mean, I do enough to take care of myself, and I gotta keep working.
I always yell at you, but you should see Gary walk around the house after a lab weekend. His feet are walking. I'm like, Gary,
Oh, boy, when I've been rolling for, you ought to see me on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night.
I'm like, at least point your feet straight. You'll be yelling at the kids in the gym, and Gary's walking around with crooked feet. Maybe you're being the example of what not to do. That's all you're doing, a stark difference of like, this is what you shouldn't do. No, that's funny. But but like what you said with Gilly, like, it can turn into that for anybody. You start. That's what I'm saying, is these compounding effects, this compounding, inputs over and over and over again. It starts to become a big problem. And then, it's like the Jenga tower getting thinner, and like, you're getting thinner, and it's okay. It's still up. Like, you're still doing some things you love. But man, once that Jenga tower falls over, you're scrapping to try to get the pieces back. It's so much more difficult than to just keep it in its uniform integral setting. But we had a question about I think it was about hyperarch fascia training, towel curl exercises to train the fascial connections. What do we think about it? So it's a question pertaining to the foot region. The problem with all of the isolated foot exercise modalities where you're crunching the toes, or you're moving the toes out, moving the toes in, that is not how the foot or the toes behave as I absorb pressure. And so what you want to focus on is you want to focus on a stiff, rigid foot compartment. So remember the compartments, kind of break them up in your mind to see how they will integrate and work together as pressure flows in and out. And the foot platform will be stable. So like that joystick analogy, it will hold still, it will hold rigid so that you could disassociate the shin. So when we're training for a truly strong foot, a truly relatable foot to gait, to movement, we have to be training something that's stable, that's rigid, that's stiff, that's anchored through the ball of the foot. And so what we work on at GOATA is teaching and bringing back the proprioception, the awareness to where my ball of the foot is, where that T-bone stake, that really the meat, the strong side of the foot resides. And then I want to be able to anchor down through there. So one way I've described it to paint a picture in y'all's mind as you're listening or watching is from the big toe around the pinky toe corner back to right underneath the outer ankle bone. So from your big toe around pinky toe corner back right underneath the outer ankle bone. So it'd basically be from the big toe wrapping all the way around to your cuboid bone. And you can think of this stretch of bone structure, of fascial integrations, whatever you want to look at it as. It's all one system. But that's going to be the T-bone stake. That's going to be the ribeye. That's going to be the meat of the foot that I'm going to pressurize and anchor through. And when you anchor that way, what you quite literally do is you lock the calcaneus, the heel that juts out behind that cuboid. So your outer ankle bone that you could touch and see, there's going to be a cuboid right below it. And it's a very thick bone. It's a strong bone that the fifth and the fourth metatarsals plug into. The calcaneus plugs in behind the cuboid. So the heel's already kind of shifted off to your outer edge of your foot. When you create a nice half dome arch structure that's rigid, that's stable, that's stiff, that's anchored into the ground, the heel locks in place. It doesn't budge. Now this allows the Achilles tendon that's plugged into, sewn into the calcaneus. This allows this disassociation now where the shin is going to turn, it's going to wind up the Achilles off of a stable foot platform. So if you're in your training and you're doing toe curls, while that may feel good, it may feel like blood flow, it has absolutely nothing to do with the actual behavior of a half dome arch structure. When you're sitting there and you're stretching your toes and you're using these blocks where they're dipping your inner ankle bone low or they're dipping your inner ankle bone high, and you're trying to match the cadaver template, right? You're trying to do dorsiflexion, you're trying to do plantar flexion, you're trying to do pronation and supination and spreading the toes and crunching the toes. You're trying to do all this movement down at your foot. That's not what it does. That's not what it does. What the foot does is it forms a cohesive structure. All the pieces slide just approximate enough to each other that when it's perfect, it's a half dome arch structure that locks the calcaneus in place, giving the shin now its ability to articulate in harmony with the hip above. So what you need to train, and what we should have been training all along was a stiff, rigid inner ankle bone high platform. But instead you have all this sort of trying to create a hypertrophy off of, the foot region, thinking in muscles, right? Thinking in terms of strengthening one structure out of an integrated bunch, taking one structure out and saying, just strengthen this and not worry about how it plays out when it's integrated. So you want to integrate the whole structure and train it that way. Now, when someone presents inner ankle bone low, compressed foot, like I said, there's these milestones that we're working off of. We're working off of an all fours milestone because it's an integrated sort of, you could say, reset back to back chain dominance and inner ankle bone high and Gary uses the analogy where like you're pushing your sit bones into that foot basket. And when you're sitting back into that inner ankle bone high structure that we've shown you guys, toes in, heels away, it's really taking that half dome and it's kind of pressing up through it. So a lot of people will talk about a cramp. They'll feel cramps at the arch of the foot because they're literally kind of pushing the bones, like the first cuneiform over to the cuboid and the metatarsals that jut out. All of it's now getting this healthy, almost lift because everybody's been compressed and kind of flattened and shrunken their foot. This is sort of liberating it, but it's still a multiplanar turn down at the foot region. And so we start that breaking up and that reorganization in all fours. Then that next milestone, that tougher one, is kind of the toe tuck. Now you get to tuck the toes and you start to talk to the underside of the foot, the ball of the foot. Then from there, the next archetype is a bolt. Now in a bolt is when you really feel like, okay, I've got to anchor down through that ball of the foot region. I've got to climb the heel high. And now I've got a platform to work off of. So we don't prescribe those types of foot exercises because they aren't in cohesion with the behavior that's on tape or the way the anatomy is designed when you look underneath the hood.
Yeah. Somebody said, is there a snapback effect to GOATA? When I sit front chain, I'm compressed, but when I train back chain, sometimes I bounce into the front chain too. So you kind of, if you really look at what you just said, you're really answering your question. If there's a snapback when you say you're training, there's got to be like you're doing something front chain to go back into it. In other words, the behavior of the exercise that you're doing, you may think is back chain, but you know it's kind of like just for example, the access squat, right? So when we talk access squat, we say we go butt back, and then the butt goes down, and you're working yourself to a certain point where let me hit this light real quick. You're getting yourself into the back chain. Well, if I'm going back and I'm trying to work the access squat, and this is all that I have, then I got to stay in this area. If I do this and I start moving into the front chain, well, I could snap back into the front chain. So you really need to, and it's where having a coach, using the video evidence and stuff like that, and video, not just for an evaluation purpose, but for an exercise, like when you're doing these workouts and stuff, we got the gym just about mirrored up everywhere. I probably got 8 flat screens in the gym. I could watch video and break down video anywhere. It's all set up where we looking, we feeling, we reevaluate. We look, we feel, we reevaluate. That process goes on and on and on and on. It's like you coming here, I'm looking at everything. Like I'm watching how far you go into that. If you come in GLS now, like the narrative's been set here, and you're just trying to get through some exercises to get through something, I'm fucking throwing you out. Like we're not just repping out exercise. There is a ton of intent in everything that we do. We're paying attention to it. I don't care if you're the top athlete in the country or the worst athlete in the country. The movement behavior is the same across the board now. And the result that we're getting is insane. It's got to be done that way. The attention to detail. This is not about, like, it's no longer about, there ain't no influencing going on here. The narrative of GOATA has been changed. It's been reset. And it basically started about 3 months ago. And this is how we do things. It's how we train in our coaches. When the coaches don't abide by it, then they go off on their own. And that's what it is. If you want to take somebody that's been in sciatic pain for 2 weeks and they damn near in tears and they hurting and you want to help them, right, then you fucking follow this model. If you don't, then go somewhere else. I had another guy come in today. AB sending me guys. He's got a private client. It's an older guy. Man, my back's real tight the last 2 weeks. Go see Gary. Not, hey, man, let me do this. GOATA's doing it. It's go see Gary. he's got that client for life now. The guy said it today. He's like, man, no other trainer would have sent me nowhere else. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a system in place. There's a way things that need to be done. I would say get a GOATA coach if you don't have one. Make sure they doing video. Make sure they're making themselves available to you to send you the video. My clients send me video. I break it down for them. I send it back. And sometimes that's all the coaching that they need.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they need a session virtually.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they need to come in. But a lot of times it could all be done on a video.
I think,
you know,
to paint a picture for everybody's minds, in Gary's gym, if you walk in, there's a big stretch of turf, but then there's like a far wall. And if you guys have been watching us for a while, you'd notice that there used to be racks there. Well, we kind of moved almost all the racks out of there. There's a couple there for a Henny and band, but now it's all mirrors across the wall, and then, you know, GOATA mats at the ground level. So now the kids come in, and one of our big things that we've always told people is, hey, use a mirror. Use a mirror for all your groundwork, because first and foremost, it lets you lock in one of those main global laws, which is head control, which we see a lot of misses and a lot of errors in the groundwork. And now you can kind of exactly see where your head is. Is it in the middle or is it in the column? And then you can kind of turn side view and you can get some information about your tail to crown from the mirror. So the mirror is like a real-time sort of iPad in a sense that, you know, you don't have the frame by frame, but when you're going through exercises, you can get a lot of awareness, a lot of feedback from that mirror. So use that little cheat code, if you will, if you can, wherever you are, you know, try to get in front of a mirror and try to do those exercises just to check. Yeah, they're cheap, and you can. It's a huge benefit to have that. I think having a GOATA mat, having a mirror, and having a set of chucks are like crucial, because the mirror lets you autocorrect some tail to crown and head control issues. The chuck, for the majority of our exercises, keeps you from dropping your heel below the desired height. And it's like an alarm system, to where if you had a coach there, they'd be able to give you that feedback. But let's say you're getting into a goblet chuck to squat or chuck squat to hinge flow, and you're in the heat of it, right? And it's not always easy to know what your foot's doing, because, well, we're WOTA and we're trying to match tape. With the chuck there, you touch the chuck, you now know I've got to lift my heel up. So it's like a real-time coach for the foot level. So like that's why we have that piece of equipment. That's really what it's there for, is to be an instant feedback. But I think back to what you were talking about, Gary, about, you know, being half in versus being all in. I think it's important that everybody understands that some of the early iterations, and I saw some people bring up some names of some different methods and asking questions. And look, the easiest way I would answer that is, if you're looking for the official truth to GOATA, the official teaching system, then only ask us. Like, we're the ones that teach it. We're the ones that own it. We're the ones that have done all the lab weekends. We're the ones that reverse engineer the system. Anything else that's out there that sounds like it, at best, they're parroting something that we said. At worst, they're fucking it up by their application of the workouts. So you're stuck in a no man's land of, hey, I agree with this. It's what GOATA said. But then I try to replicate what that one page may be showing, and you're not getting the desired results. And the reason that there has been a rebranding is because there was essentially two camps being formed. There was a camp of exercise where they wanted just to exercise, right? They just wanted to do exercises. They didn't want to understand what GOATA was trying to say from a theoretical standpoint of what we're trying to get across to people, that there is a design, and that we should actually really be looking at the bow in the corner and the back chain and the inner ankle bone high. We should be looking at the global laws more so like a skill that is to be refined. And I think of it as any skill, whether it's handwriting or shooting hoops. You would go back to that skill, and you would go to that skill in a multitude of ways, and you would iron out that skill. You would take a fine-tooth comb to that skill, and you would always have your mind fixated on the skill, on the specs of it. And you'd be reverse engineering to try to enhance that skill to the maximum potential that you have. And that's the difference between the people that you're watching mimic GOATA and the people that are actually getting the results with GOATA, that are actually be able to take a Jameis Winston and show you before and afters in a 10-day period, and then to continue to show you before and afters in the loading phase. Whereas there's other people that they're talking about a lot of these concepts, but I don't see any before and afters. I don't see any change. And I know why. They're missing a detail at the foot. They're missing a detail somewhere along the global laws. They've missed a detail. And it's because they oriented their minds towards muscle isolation and exercise isolation. They saw the bow as an exercise to be done, as opposed to a skill to be refined. We will package it and maybe try to bring it to you through the lens of an exercise. But if you actually peel back the layers and you're at GOATA and you're listening to what we're saying, those that are in it and that are listening, like Gary's baseball team, like an Obi or a Jameis, they eventually turn to you and they go, oh, this is all the same stuff over and over again. And you go, exactly. You've now understood that I'm only using these exercises because that's how you interpret working out or changing things, as reps and sets, and time under tension is essentially what we're getting down to. Time under tension, enhancing a very specific skill. Okay. And so I see a lot of people that they want to learn GOATA and they're going to the wrong avenues to learn GOATA. You want to wear Jordans, but you keep going to Target and Walmart to try to buy your Jordans. Like you're buying counterfeit. You're not buying Jordans. I know they look like the Jordan ones. I know they have the same panels and the same ideas and the same colorway, but upon further examination, it's not even fucking close. And it's not, and it's a case of us distancing ourselves from the fake imitators for you, for the people on this live. Because in my estimation, y'all are here to understand the theory. You want the truth. You're not just, I assume you don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want you to waste yours. And so that's why we are creating a distance. And it's not, hey, they're people. They do what they do. That's fine. I'm not going to badmouth anybody. But I'm also going to set the record straight that those people that are saying GOATA, not tagging GOATA, and you know exactly who you are and you know exactly who they are, they're not with us. And it's that. It's over. They're not with us. They have nothing to do with what we do. All those people that I thought they were with you on this podcast and now they're not. No, they're gone. They are absolutely out of the picture, have nothing to do with how this company is moving forward. And as Bill Belichick said, we're on to Cincinnati. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're moving on to the next team.
Yeah. He just said it. If they can't show you results, then they don't have none.
They're talking about our theory without showing.
Somebody asked if we do arm exercises. Yeah, I mean, we talking right now about, I train a baseball team. It's a system. It's systematic. The run, throw, swing, jump, strike, all that stuff's the same stuff. Like, we did the baseball thing, and they climbing the chart right now. They winning because
you
their
can
whole
practice
pitching
more.
staff is available.
Nobody talks about that. You can all practice.
The hitters aren't pulling hamstrings, and they're not having back issues at second base, and they're not having all of this stuff. He's got a bench now that he can go to if somebody don't hit, and they're not hitting because they're being held captive by pain. They climbed up to number 15. We'll see where they go. They start district play tonight. They're going to go through the district. The goal is to sweep at home, go 2 out of 3 on the road. And you'll keep climbing the charts and then to hopefully play for a national championship at the end. And, to have everybody available. They're getting better as the season goes on because they're not, there's no weights involved. We didn't lift no weights. I kind of documented it. I showed a lot of the video, and it's like somebody asked me the other day, they was like, well, did you check and test them or whatever? I'm like, test them as far as what? Like test, he's like, well, like pitch velocity and stuff like that. I'm like, well, the dudes are, they 3 miles per hour faster to start. I know that only because the coach told me, but they have every pitch available. They have every, you know what I'm saying? Like, what stat are you looking for? You want them to throw 2 miles per hour harder, but not available at the end of the season? Like, what are we looking for here? Or do you want your ace that has great command, that touches 92, 93, to be available for you at the end of the year? That wasn't there last year. And the best part about it is they actually lost 2 people to academics in 2 starters. One of them was their second pitcher. I mean, think about it. Like, you can't lose 1 to academics, 1 to a shoulder injury, and 1 to a hamstring, and then you got to go on the road and play the best team in the country on no rep. You're fucked. You're fucked. You watch it happen all the time. You watch it. I mean, the guy, I sent you the thing the other day, the Pelicans writer. He's like, we got this dude in our backyard, and the Saints and they ignoring
Dude,
him,
this
and we lose
Zion
every
thing
year
is,
because of him.
I we'll get back to that, but
It's
to
insane.
give you like, there's a couple people asking about upper half exercises, and look, the basics that we work off of, so the archetype that we will work out of to really, really hone in on the strength and the muscular endurance through integration. So I want you to understand first and foremost the integration of knowing that that power that you're generating starts somewhere, and it starts down in the foot and the ankle region, and it transfers through the system out into the hands. Like take that picture a freeze frame of a knockout punch in boxing, right? And you see the pressure deforming the face, okay? Now retrace that pressure that you see deforming the face back frame a couple frames ago. Where did it start? Where did it come from? It was down at that ankle at some point, and they brought it through the whole system and out the hand. So an integrated chain, a strong foot platform, that's first and foremost. Like having a tail to crown relationship, having an inner ankle bone high is actually the start to having a upper half that is strong and durable, because I can't stress that enough, that these ideas of like 1 rep max inside a upper half strength, whether it be a bench press test, whether it be a swing speed in golf or a throwing speed in baseball, you can be explosive through the WOTA pattern. So it's often more misleading to look for that to be your measuring stick, and it's better to look for the pattern of durability to be the measuring stick, and then you'll get the strength like Gary's showing. You'll get the 3 miles per hour. You'll get that because you're efficient. It's obvious from that point on. But the cat crawl archetype, where essentially if you picture being on all fours and then you tuck your toes and then you just lift your knees off of, Gary just kind of just gets his knees off the turf. That archetype right there is all you really need to get a strong integrated upper half to work with the lower half, because you're now in a automatic tailback crown forward relationship. So we don't have to worry about the tail shooting forward, the crown shooting back. It's much easier. And then there's so much time under tension. Like just get into that position that Gary's in. Just sitting there as a isometric is challenging. And then you shift the pressure over a little bit. Then we do crossover push-ups. Gary does compression push-ups. Gary does cat crawls in a variety of ways. So split stance stuff.
Split stance stuff too, where you just ISO the split stance. Because the key to this is you could set the tail to crown. Because what happens with a lot of the upper body stuff is what happens. They go on the bench press and they turn the feet like this. Basically, they open everything up, and
you're
then
laying
they tuck
on your back,
like the hips.
You're laying on your back.
It's an illegal rep at the combine. Like you can't let your hips come up off the ground. So you could tell these guys are training. In the Henny, when we do upper body with the Henny, it allows us to keep tail. The feet in these positions, the tail to crown being set all the time. Like if I got a kid that's in this position and he's here and he starts to stop, go back down. Like when you're here, you can feel it's active because your kinesthetic awareness and all, you're like, this is normal. Like there's not a person in the world that would tell you that that's healthy, but they'll tell you to pinch your glutes and thrust your hips at the top of the squat. And then they say, well, you don't want to be like that. You're compressing your spine. But then they cue it at max neural drive. Like get in here, we cue that tail to crown. Like, I mean, all I do like with the, I do like some groundwork, and then, I lost 35 pounds in 3 months, like doing catwalks and shit and just showing people how to do it. Like it's like there's a cardio side to it. You could split it and hold it. The core is the back.
It's the same area, just on the back side.
Does anybody ever go to the doctor? How many people you think go to the doctor and say, I have a core issue? They say, no, I have a back issue. But yet we train the core, train the core. We got back issues. Train the core, we got back issues. Who goes there and says, hey, man, we need to redevelop your erector muscles to sustain this? But no, we just keep doing this. It's insanity. And the thing is, we go to the doctor and we believe that fucking shit because we trust. And people, good people out there, they work their ass off their whole life, and then they got to go be fed some fucking bullshit from somebody that just is refusing to listen to somebody that's actually giving people results. Yeah. It's like my buddy. Do you think he didn't try all kind of other shit? You think then when they said the word surgery, he's like, damn, I better
last ditch effort usually brings people to GOATA.
I told him, his name's Mark, and he knows who I am. Like, I'm transparent with him. Like, Mark, what are you doing, dog? Like, like, now it's like, we're going to leave. We ain't going to, before I have surgery, I'm going to make sure I turn every stone over. Well, shit. Then it's like, well, people call me. I had somebody today, can you fix valgus? I send them 3 pictures. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I do that. How much? $1,500. Crickets. Yeah. Well, go pay the copay. They talking surgery and this and that. Well, you could tell my bone's out of shape. Yeah, it is. It's called valve. It's like stuck in. Muscle dictates anatomical structure. It's not for debate. I got proof. I can rep something out that's going to draw you back to a straight leg. Arch. I got a lady. She's like, my son has an arch in his foot now. The doctor told me that's not real. I'm like, it's not? You're looking at it. He's like, yeah, well, we must have missed something. Missed something. You called me saying that you went to 2 people saying they had played. She believes me. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I send pictures. It's like the dude in with the son with the ACL tear. Y'all can't do that. Oh, we can't? Here's what, 6, 7, 8, 9 examples of we did.
I still got to see the science.
Well, I got to see the research behind it.
That was one of the saddest moments. That was when I was like, this is the problem with these people, is that I could show you 1,000 clips, you'll give me 1,000 excuses. Because I've now rattled your cage as far as what you consider home base, what you consider to be your wheelhouse. It's now being crumbled in front of your eyes as far as what we need to do or what we don't need to do regarding the system. But yeah, it's
the mainstream question we had earlier. Somebody was like, what's it going to take to mainstream it?
Right.
I don't know. I mean, Bobby Kraft's checkbook.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take. Like, I know this. I know that we're going to continue to fix people. We're going to continue to try to do our best to put the best we have out there. We're going to continue to research. We're going to continue to do like try better ways and faster ways to get the job done. We're going to keep working. If somebody tells us something that makes sense, we're going to look at it. We use Egoscue sometimes. We use Eric Goodman sometimes. We use like some people have come up and they've been looking. They're trying. They found different things. You said it today. You put the thing out from you talked spinal injury before. You talked all of this stuff, and we kept digging and digging. We didn't accept what was out there because people wasn't fixed. If they had all the answers out there, we wouldn't be in the situation. We wouldn't even be relevant. Like, nobody would be hurt. Nobody. But there had to be an ideal pattern, right? There had to be a right way to do it. And those things wasn't going to be able to be identified by keep going back to the same stuff that we were getting the information from. It had to be looked somewhere else. Gilly picking up the iPad was the most common sense genius thing in the world. You know what I'm saying? And GOATA's so simple that people can't even wrap their head around it.
It's disturbingly simple. I would say that the mainstream concept, first and foremost, we had to get our ducks in a row. Extreme accountability, extreme ownership first. We had to get the bad eggs out of the basket. We had to get the muddied sort of teaching out of the basket. So we had a lot of clashing on what was what, and people were being led astray. We talked about this earlier. It's still going on. So there's still a general miscommunication because of earlier coaches that have bastardized the system for their own personal gain. So that muddies the water, first off, because it's not a clear and concise message from the top. Well, now the top has been reset. And so you better believe that this place has turned into the New England Patriots. And we have a culture now. We have a way of doing things. If you don't like that, that's fine. you can sit in the stands and watch, because we're only going to let certain people on the sideline, and you're only going to let certain people in my huddle. And what was happening is we had people in the huddle that I'm trying to get the play out. I'm trying to tell you what to do. And you're standing over there rolling around like a contortionist and not even in the huddle listening to what we're saying. And then we're supposed to bring a cohesive unit out onto the field for y'all to watch and to learn from, for the mainstream to learn from. So that's the first problem, is I got to get the cancer away from the team. So we had to get that out of the building. And so now it's a cohesive unit. It's a strong unit. Everybody's on the exact same page. Y'all should feel it from our content, specifically the content of GLS GOATA _education, GLS GOATA _training, and then GOATA movement. If it's not coming from there, if it didn't start from there, it's not GOATA. That had to be set first. So now there's a much more clear and concise message around the global laws. There's not a poor game of telephone going on. It's still there a little bit, but it's being cleaned up. Perception's being cleaned up. When all those ducks are in a line and everything's clear there, and it's easier for people to conceptualize what it is we're talking about, and they're not being told stupid shit on the other side of it, as that's being looked at or being confused with GOATA, the gypsy caravan that was hanging onto our coattails for a while there. When we got rid of them and put them back in the trailer park, we could go do our job. And now we're in a situation where we know exactly what we're doing with this. We know exactly what the system's supposed to look like. We know exactly how to heal people. And we had to concentrate and get everything into a culture type setting to where it's understandable. And I want this to be digestible for you. I want it to be understandable. I'm going to try to do my best to essentially teach you GOATA through Instagram. Now, I don't think that's truly possible, because the way it's scattered and it's the way just, one post here, one post there, it's very boop, 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 like pop-up video from VH1. It's very just, sporadic, spouts of information that you agree with, but it's very hard to cohesively, make it gel just by looking at Instagram. But all those pieces, I'm trying to put all those pieces out there. I want to give you guys clear and concise evidence. I want to give you well thought out analogies, metaphors, cues, so that you can start to, create change. And then it's just a case of how far are you trying to take it? If you're a high level athlete, don't just leave it up to interpretation on Instagram. Go get yourself a coach, go get yourself in a program. If you're a high level coach or a parent or an athlete that wants to really learn it and understand it, get into the Institute. But our goal is to make it very clear, very precise as far as what is GOATA, what are they saying, who are they, right? What is it that they're teaching? We are just matching tape of the global laws. That's it. That's all we're doing. Gilly first observed these global laws. We built a system around it, and now that system is centered around assessing and matching tape off of those global laws. So it is very simple. And I think once that part is understood and it's more digestible, you'll see a bigger push into the mainstream.
Yeah, it'll continue to grow and get better and all of that stuff. The key is the Institute is going to forever change. It's going to forever get better. It's going to always it's got to have what's inside of our head inside of it. And there's like a lot of things that we want to do. Like we want to try to get into the schools and get kids on the ground. Like, I mean, if you think about it, essentially you could come in and get the education right now for $9.99. You could get a lifetime membership on Recode 225, which is your exercise platform, which is about a couple of weeks away at the most from having a do-it-yourself Recode program in it, with weekly workouts, education, specific regimens catered towards knees, hips, and backs. And so you're looking at $1,500 right there. And if you go buy a starter pack and spend another $1,700, and essentially you would never need a trainer, you would never need a coach, you would never need a gym. Now, people are going to want to be instructed. They're going to want to be coached. That's where you go and you hire yourself a GOATA coach and you ask them, are you in the Institute? Will I get the app? And when they say yes or no or whatever, then you go. We have coaches that come in that choose to apply GOATA to some of their training modalities and stuff like that. And that shit's cool too. You know what I'm saying? Like if you a power lifter and you specific to powerlifting, you need GOATA. You know, it's like Rick always says, like, you want to be a GOATA powerlifter, not a WOTA powerlifter. So it's like, you know, you'll see guys like Mark Bell use this stuff, and you'll see other guys use it. They're still gonna lift. It's what they love. It's what they're passionate about. But essentially, for under $2,000, you don't never have to worry about having a damn going to how many. Just play it out. And we talked about it before. You go in there, your back hurts. My back hurts. Well, we're gonna send you to the physical therapist, and we're gonna try physical therapy, and your core is weak, so we're gonna strengthen you. You go in there, you do some glute bridges and shit. They put you on ice. Then that don't work. They start prescribing anti-inflammatories. So they may do those two, vice versa. A year later, you're sitting there and you're in a gown, and you're about to have a cage put on your back. When it's like really, like all I did.
It's
was
so
this.
simple. It's disturbing.
That's it. Just get in a bow hip stretch for 20 minutes a day. And then it could turn into 15 minutes. And as you open up the back chain, it's really that easy. And then, you know, it's like, oh, y'all looking for money. And yeah, we are. Well, fuck, we have kids and wives and cars and houses and shit like that. And I work 16 hours a day. I fucking drive a Mercedes and live in a $500,000 house. I fucking earned it too, because I busted my ass, and I'll continue to bust my ass and continue to save people and keep working hard to do that and provide the information. How many fucking hours do you think Rick sat in front of an iPad with them little some bitches running around in the background screaming and throwing shit, and trying to break it down and all kind of shit like that.
But that narrative of like, that's the weak narrative that comes from the trolls, where they're like, it's one of two things. It's Gary, show me your Recode, or Ricky, show me your Recode, or it's you guys are just marketing, you guys are just making money. And it's never about, I want you to argue the global laws. I want you to, it's funny because I put out that video the other day with the Achilles tendon, and then I put out the pictures. And it's straight fucking crickets from all the fucking smarties that are on the one post where you're talking about the Achilles popping, and they're like, well, so-and-so said I should drop my heel. It's straight crickets when I present you with anatomical evidence, when I get scientific with you. Nobody can judge it. Nobody can come at it. Nobody can break it down. Not anybody wants to argue inside ankle bone high. Nobody wants to argue the bow. Nobody wants to argue the back chain. Instead, somebody wants to say, well, where's your Recode? Where's Gary's Recode? Oh, it's just marketing. Oh, you're just looking for money. First off, what would it benefit if I show you a Recode from me? What does that do? What does that prove? Does it now make GOATA relevant because one person was able to Recode? Well, if you just needed to see one person get Recoded, that's already been done. So it's not about that. You have to understand, when people are trolling, when people are trying to break down GOATA, it's not about GOATA. It's about the insecurities that they have with the global laws being fucking unflappable, that they can't even pierce it with any sort of, logical argument. Are you going to sit there after I explain and show you how the Achilles tendon is sewn into the heel and how it has to be stable and the heel can't be moving? You're now going to go talk like you have some fucking knowledge, and you're going to tell someone to pronate after I just presented that? You won't. You'll never do that. All you have right now is essentially moral authority. You have moral authority, and you have confusion that you could then hey, look over here. Don't look at that post, because you can't explain it away. So it's less and less of trying to dismantle the global laws and more silly personal attacks, standing from 50 feet away, throwing a rock at a glass house. That there's no basis, there's no honesty in it. It's not intellectually consistent with how they've tried to pose other problems early on with GOATA. And now you're getting into a situation where, like I said, the culture's been set, the train's moving on a very specific track, and all the dead weight is gone. And just watch us work, because it's coming. It's coming to a gym near you. Like it is. Like you've all had your chances to look at the evidence, and it's now going to slap the fucking piss right out of you. It is. It's going to be embarrassing when you actually sit back and look at how you've been teaching people to pronate their foot. You've been teaching people to collapse their heel, when literally everything in the anatomical design points to you not doing that. Literally every single thing says, don't let the foot move, hold it still. There's only one way to make that thing wind up a certain way. And you're having people argue for nonsense. They're not even, they have nothing. They have nothing to stand out. That's why it's pure crickets. It's pure crickets around that post, and there's no shit talking going on in that post. Where is it? Well, you guys, you show up when Gary gets excited and he tells you that linebacker should be heels up. You give me some bullshit about linebackers being, where is the energy when there's the actual science in front of you? The actual research is in front of you. Where's the energy at? I want to know, like, where are you guys at? Where are you at on that post? I need to hear your rebuttal. I need to hear you show me how what we have posed as the foot and ankle interaction at GOATA, tell me where it's wrong. Please tell me where it's wrong, because we've already rehabilitated it. We've already laid out the theory. Now I'm showing you the underneath the hood. You can't. There's no, and if you try to prove GOATA wrong, you prove it right every time. They're scared of going down that tunnel of trying to prove it wrong, so they don't do it. Instead, they just throw rocks. You're running out of rocks.
Somebody asked about the access squat. We kind of talked about it earlier. Yeah, you want to work to your zone. Like you don't want to get to a point where when you're in the access squat, you're going down. Like I get to a certain point and then I start to spin in, right? Like I need to get me something to counter this. And I mean, it could be anything, you know, you get you something to counter it. You could use your arms at a certain point. And then you gotta find something where you can get deeper. And then I like to tell my clients to push back from this point. Use this part of the foot, push back, and it's gonna open up this area as the butt goes back. And you want to have the tail to crown set the whole time that you're trying to develop that access to where it's here like that. And eventually you'll keep opening that tissue up, and spending time in that position is going to help the body to relax into that state. But, you know, if you just go forward or you go into the front chain, then that access is only going to be limited to that forever. So you got to kind of find it, push back into it, and just kind of work back there. And then you can kind of play around with the squat and the hinge, and then try to drive through the ball of the foot on your hinge, because that just, once you get back there, what I've been finding is as I drive through the ball of the foot and I drive the tailbone up from that position, it's an active decompression too. It's not passive, where the access hinge starts off like very passive, like you're trying to just get down into, access squat, like you're trying to get down into it. And then whenever I get to my range where I could work at, if I could try to like imagine pulling from the ball of the foot all the way up through to the tailbone. So you're going through the arch, through the heel, through the Achilles, all the way to the calf, and then to the tailbone. And I try to tell them to feel that and drive that system forward and up. And then in order for everything to pull off, the toes have to be driving through the ball of the foot has to be driving through the ground. And then that rotation at the ankle and the hip has to happen to where you keep going up, because now you got to get the groin involved, you got to get the hip flexors involved, and all of those pieces of that puzzle have to go. And then they would just open back down and open, and then push back down and up, and then it just keeps working, but it's deeper and deeper and deeper back into the back chain. Once that starts to happen, then my clients are like, coach, here I am. I'm there. Like they start, and then they feel better. Their backs are better. Their hips are better. Their hamstrings are better. Me and AB did the combine shit. We put the performance on top of it. What he did was by getting the heel out of the ground and trying to honor the global laws inside of everything that he did. We had a dude run a 4.40 yesterday. Like, with no pain no more. He's pain-free. He's 8 pounds heavier. He's faster than he's ever been. He's going to probably get drafted. Like, this is the kind of shit, like, hey, man, fuck my ego. Me and AB didn't get along for years. And we knew we had to come together and figure this shit out. Because the athlete was the one that was going to suffer, not us. We both do good. You know? Now it's for the athlete. It's the same thing that we've been doing. Why you think I'm fucking yelling and screaming and running around this bitch? Because for me, I don't need that shit. Like, I'm going to have 48. I might have a heart attack in this motherfucker. Like, I don't need that shit.
Yeah.
But my athletes do. They need it. I'm passionate. And again, I don't have to give no motherfucker no explanation. I could go walk into the strength room at LSU if I want, tell them they fucking wrong, and it won't affect me no kind of way, shape, or form.
Well, that's the other part, is that you're not bought, by anybody. You don't owe anybody in front of you to uphold their, bullshit that they taught you. There's none of that. That's what's scary about Gary and Gilly and I, is that there's no person in front of me to be like, dude, you can't say that. Fuck, I can. Like, and now you have people that are saying it from the heart, and they're saying it from hours and hours of understanding on their own, as opposed to, hey, just read this book, just memorize these vocab words, take these tests, and then we'll get you a nice job over at this facility. And that's what's been going on for the most part. But back to that access hinge in the squat. Like, I can't stress enough, we've been trying to hammer this home to people. Like, you've got to have a very active foot, because if you're not anchoring down through the ball of the foot, like, think of anchoring down through the ball of the foot, like all the way to the tips of the toes, almost like it's clamping down like this, and you're popping up that inner ankle bone, and the cuneiform bone is moving up, and the cuboid is sliding like this, and this nice half dome arch structure. Like, the feeling of that is feeling like you're driving down, you're pressing down, you're anchoring, you're rooting. There's a multitude of ways to say it, a bunch of synonyms there. But I feel like that ball of the foot, really, like when you get to a height of the heel where you'd have a chuck underneath you, it feels like from the big toe to the pinky toe corner, and all of it roots down. And when I root down correctly through that big toe around the outer corner, you should feel the foot kind of create a little curvature to where the inner ankle bone just tracks a little bit higher. But if I don't, like Gary's showing you the twisting of the shins and the thighs, the down back outs, the up forward ins with the bows in the corners, if you're not, remember the joystick, if you're not holding the platform still, that's like a separate feeling from the mobility or the turning. And I think that's where people have a problem with GOATA, or sort of getting it into their system during like an access squat or an access hinge, and like the bolt squat, bolt hinge, which are very similar, is that you want to create two feelings that seemingly seem separate or contradictory to each other, but when paired together, they create a healthy, harmonious relationship. And that is one feeling of rooting down, of anchoring, of rigidity, not moving. And then another feeling of space, of decompression, of turning, of spiraling. And those two working hand in hand create this math to play out. So you want to find a stable platform. You want to find this idea of, like, I don't know the word balance. Like, you see people do like balancing work, and they're trying to find stability, I think. They're trying to find rigidity. They're trying to find strength. You want to have that at the foot compartment, but then you want to have this sort of soft, supple acceptance at the bow. Like, you want to, when you bow, you got to bend your knee. Like, remember we had this talk about people, they're trying to do their bow, and someone told them to try to stretch their hamstring back and lengthen their knee out. And now it's like, that's not what the bow is. You would never land with a locked knee. You would land with a soft knee, where they would hit in the bend, the knee would bend, and the whole system would track down, back, and out on that spiral. So it has to always be that when you're going to feed a bow, you're feeding that softening, that sort of acceptance of pressure into a bow. And then transferring is taking it up, around, and in, and almost clearing space. Like, if you're doing an access hinge, you should feel crazy amounts of activity, not only at the foot, but in the calf compartment. Like, you might be cramping up right around your Achilles towards the outside. It may lead up into, feeling some tug at the back of your knees, all the way through the hamstring at various spots, and then wrapping into the lower back, and even heading up to the shoulders and neck if you're keeping that chin up. That's another cue that we see a lot having to be said to people during their work is, hey, keep your tailbone up, keep your eyes up. I think another way of framing it for people to even make it easier is tailbone and chin stay up. So my tail and my chin are up because that keeps my eyes on the horizon. Now, this gets really challenging in a bolt squat. So you get into a bolt squat, and a lot of people want to, they want to kind of go back to the text neck. They kind of like drop the chin, they drop the tail, keep the chin and the tail up in a bolt squat as you sit in like a halfway squat. So you're in a halfway squat, your chin is up, your eyes are forward. It's not like you're craning your neck. You're just keeping your eyes forward, but it'll feel like your chin is up coming from the chin being down. Tail is up, heels are up. So I'm in a bolt squat. I'm anchoring down through the balls of the feet. My heels are up, my tail is up, my chin is up. I got fingertip support, and you should feel absolutely cooked in this position. I mean, lower back all the way through the quads, down into the calves. The whole leg just takes on all the pressure like it should. Then you can start to flow through the corner and the hinge, and that access squat, access hinge, bolt squat, bolt hinge. That's sort of that first introduction to, hey, here's underneath my feet. Like, here's my ball of my foot. I've kind of created some space in my groundwork and my toe tuck. Now I'm going to actually pressurize and anchor and be active through that ball of the foot. And we really start with that bolt or that, access hinge, bow wall sit area that we have to blend depending on who's in front of us. But that's where I would really hone in on the cues, guys, is take it nice and slow.
We had two questions. One of them was the neck. I see you're a football player, B Ben 28. You gotta think of like man, I've done seen like you can't force the neck into a position, right? Like, so let's say that like you super like front chain. Like, I could imagine, like, if I did an eval on you, just because you've probably been in a high school and a college weight room and stuff like that, you're going to be a front chain dominant athlete. Your hips are going to be forward and stuff like that. I've seen athletes come in where they come in and they, one foot's a little ducked out more. It just depends on how long you've been doing it, how you catching weight. Some programs are very heavy Olympic lifting. Some are more powerlifting type derivatives and stuff like that, and then linear speed training and stuff. So you may see a guy he's got one foot that's kind of open or whatever, and he's got one foot that's a little bit straighter. And if he's been catching weight like that, this knee could be here. So the system's compressed already. And then he may, because this side's like that, subconsciously he may favor this way, to where he even could possibly be tipping the neck to one side. So we got to go in, and before we would take an athlete and start talking to him about a neck position and stuff like that, you got to really decompress everything from the feet up and get them long as you can, to where now he may go to an optimal neck position because all of the bottom is okay. So like, if I just tell you, look, your neck's supposed to be over there and you got this shit going on, like, it's hard for me to answer a question like that because I don't know about the rest of you. So I could be giving you something where you're trying to force something, and now I'm talking about your neck, bro. Like, I may fuck you up. Like that's not, so it's like, I don't even want to try to answer a question like that, because it's almost like, now, ideally, we could tell you what it should be, but you may try to accomplish that, and then you hurt yourself trying, because, it's like, man, and it's like, yeah, we sell an eval, we sell GOATA coaches, we trying to get people to go to a GOATA coach because of those reasons, because this is really a get it right one time thing. Get it right one time, get the information, get it done, and then you don't have to worry about all of that shit. And there's going to be a neck. The baby did not worry about its neck. The baby didn't worry about its feet. God gave it this instinctive pattern. It gave it instinctive rest positions. It gave it, everything was instinctive, right? Like, it did all of these little things. Nobody taught him that. We made him sit down. We told a kid to go sit in a chair or whatever, and we fucked it up. We're telling you, go back down there. Go back to the ground. Decompress. Get an eval done. Find out who you are. And then go from there and see what happens with the neck and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to do something and fuck you up, dog. Like, to be honest with you. And then, Ryan, when you set a single leg bow correctly and you're asking where we should feel it, that's where you kind of got to get away from the whole kinesthetic awareness thing. Like, are you setting a bow on a decompressed system, or are you just trying to set a bow? So again, it's going back to the eval. It's going back to get the body decompressed. It's going back to get somebody that you may feel something, but the mirror in the video may say something different. So a lot of these questions and a lot of this stuff is all based around you figuring out what you need for your body or what you need to fix or change or whatever in order for you to reach that optimal pattern. If those things ain't right, then your neck may never be right. Your bow never may be right. You may feel a quad. You may feel a hamstring. You know, it's like some of these questions are tough, and I don't want to give you bad information. You know what I'm saying?
We generally say you want to feel it in the backside outside. So like if you are in a single leg bow and it's being done correctly, you would feel it in the back pocket, trending to the bottom of that pocket would be where that area of the most dense pressure would be. It's not to say that I think people put words in our mouth and they try to say, well, I'm feeling it. I didn't say you wouldn't feel it somewhere else. I'm saying that you for sure want to feel it dense in that back pocket area just because of, just think about where everything's turning. Everything's turning down, backing out, right? You just look at the lines of fascia, you look at the design, you've got this real big thickening of fascia on the lower back, thoracolumbar region, kind of dispersing and thickening into the IT band. So there's a general multiplanar turn of the thigh. There's a turn of the pelvis. There's a turn of the torso. So all of that together sort of pulls everything into the back pocket from a feeling perspective. If you're doing a drop in and you feel like pressure at the front of your knee or like heavy and low in the quad, that would be, I would assume that someone's definitely doing something wrong there.
Probably.
But if you feel it in the lower glute, back pocket, maybe high hip, lower back for sure, like your lower back should be fried doing GOATA. I've seen some people, some detractors be like, yeah, you shouldn't feel it in your back. Well, of course you'd say that. You're a WOTA coach. Like you worry about breathing and rib pelvis connection. You don't have a fucking clue what back chain dominance is. Guys, your backs should be fried because you've all been sitting WOTA and you have no lower erector muscles that are active. Your calves should be fried because your feet are crooked and inner ankle bone low and you have no medial calf to speak of. It's not saying that we're going to bodybuild those areas back to strength, but we're going to match tape, and those areas are now going to be asked to cohesively and in an integrated way work together. And when you get there, you see people start to shake. You see people go to where they're essentially atrophied just because, well, if I'm not feeding the backside outside tissue, I'm starting to funnel to the forward, down, and in. And that's as simple as it can be stated. If I'm not holding the system in a decompressed state, I'm then now feeding it towards a compressed state. So look, man, the no support drop-in is tough. It's a great exercise. It's a really tough feel and a tough find. Use your mirrors. So use your mirrors for the front view. Really make sure the head's locked in. Use your chuck. Make sure your foot's in a strong position, anchored down through the ball of the foot. Don't let your big toe pop up. Don't pop the foot up. Stay active through the ball of the foot. The half dome arch structure, the inner ankle bone will present high. Make sure you get the tail back and the crown forward first. I would ask you all to pay very close attention to the constants, okay? The constants, which will build a decompressed structure, being foot control. I've got to stay active through the ball of the foot. Compression control. I've got to create and maintain a tail back crown forward relationship. And then thirdly, head control. It's one of two places at GOATA. It's either directly in the middle, nose in the middle, because we're working both sides, or it's in that column because we're working one side. If you orient your mind to every exercise, every drill, to be a hyper focus on those three things, what you'll start to notice is that when you put those three things in the front, the bow starts to show up. The corner starts to show up because you're essentially putting that ball and socket column on the proper path, like a roller coaster. Like the roller coaster, the cart has to follow the path that is set out in front of it. So does the ball and sockets as far as the decompression or the compression goes. Meaning the more inner ankle bone low, the more front chain dominant I put that foot in that tail to crown. My ball and sockets in the column, they don't have a choice but to start to track forward, down, and in, and then go in reverse. Same thing could be said for a GOATA. The more inner ankle bone high I am, the more back chain dominant I am, Well, the ball and sockets just now start to feed into the bow and then around to the corner. So I think a lot of people early on with GOATA, maybe you're hearing the word rotation, maybe you're hearing the word spiral, turn, rotary. There's a multitude of ways to say that kind of stuff. But what I think happens is if I fixate on a spiral, if I fixate on the rotation first, it's so easy to jack up tail to crown. It's so easy to lose head control. It's so easy to let your foot get lazy because you're just trying to twist. And like, dude, twisting makes you feel some type of way. Like if you've been sitting in a chair all day and you just sit up, stand up, and you start twisting your body in different directions, you start contorting, it'll feel good.
Well, everybody does.
It doesn't mean that it's going to code you up or that it's necessarily the integrated, organized spiral that is observed when the kneecap points 22.5 degrees. So yes, you'll get the turns. Yes, you'll get the spiral. Yes, you'll get this rotary action, but you'll get it because you're just super focused on, I don't want to be compressed. I don't want to be compressed. I want to be in a lengthened down state. That's how I think you find each exercise, each drill to always point back to the global laws. Because when we lay out those global laws, we say columns, foot control, loading pressure, transferring pressure, head control, and then at the bottom is back chain dominance. And when I present it, I usually say this bottom concept here, think of it as an umbrella that sort of encapsulates everything else. If I am truly back chain dominant, that allows me to have the head inside the column that's loading. It allows me to transfer and load correctly. It allows the foot to now play in a, back chain dominance at the foot level is inside ankle bone high. It's just a decompressed foot structure. So those things are predicated on the real root of the issue, which is we're all compressed. In some way, shape, or form, the musculoskeletal system is kind of squished and taken off track, and now we've got to create space for it. I hope that answers that question. It's a good question, though.
Okay. I got clients coming in. I'm seeing. Yeah, I mean, we'll chop it up and
I'm gonna work on it. Yeah, I'm gonna work on it now. So this will be up on our YouTube, guys, either later on today or early tomorrow. Stay tuned for more content coming out on Recode 225, more content coming into the GOATA app for our coaches, more content going into the Institute. So we've just shot a bunch of new video. We've got hours and hours of stuff to work through, but expect to see new content in across all platforms. Just stay tuned to what we're doing. Like I said, if it's not coming from my page, Gary's, or GOATA Movement, it's not coming from the business. It's not coming from the organization, and we can't account for it. So I can't tell you that you're getting GOATA. You might be wearing counterfeit Jordan 1s. So just check your sources, check the people that have reverse engineered it and have spent the most time teaching it. We want you guys to level up. We want to teach you the system. We want you to understand it. But we also need the message to be cohesive. So that being said, ask questions. If something looks confusing to you, reach out on the comment section, reach out into our DMs. I've had a couple people do that already to kind of discern between what looks to be somewhat GOATA-ish from former detractors compared to what we're saying. But upon further examination, you won't code up going that route. Next thing is, if you guys have a question you want highlighted as we go into next week, same thing. Drop something on a comment section, drop something in a DM, drop a topic to us any way you can. If you're just tuning in and you're wondering more, like, how can I get started? Go to goatamovement.com. You can right at the top, click get your free guides, and you can get the first workout of the Recode program for free. Like Gary said, the Recode program will be a one-size-fits-all Recode program to take you from all fours to a single leg and to change your movement pattern along the way. That is getting plugged into Recode 225 as we speak. If you have further questions or want to know more about our products, go to goatamovement.com, click the 3 bars in the top right. It'll take you to Recode 225. It'll take you to the cert, or it'll take you to the movement assessment. The movement assessment is done by me. I will give you a voiceover. I'll show you what you're doing wrong. I'll get you started on the right track, and then you can progress appropriately. So like I said, any questions that come up, DM, comments, or go to gotamovement.com. That's it.
Yep. All right. Appreciate y'all being
All
here.
right. We'll talk to y'all.
I'll hit you up
Appreciate
in
you
a little
guys.
while, Rick.